Hello, hello. Hi, anybody out there that actually pops in here and looks at these? I am Wago. I teach on Monday and Saturdays. On Mondays, I do a quick Q&A for those of you who are up and around at this hour. Here in Hilo, for the local group of kids that I'm teaching, and adults alike, I find that they enjoy the social medias. I don't mind doing this because every once in a while I catch somebody who asks a question and it's all worthwhile. So, what I do, Saturdays and Mondays I get to teach, the privilege of teaching, I do believe. I'm at a point right now where in order to learn I need to teach whatever I've been taught, and then be able to distinguish between what makes sense and what doesn't, what's needed and what's not. Forming my own kind of idea of my own music pedagogy and how to practice myself. So what I do is I give the gift of what I've learned in very small tidbits so people can enjoy it. If you have any questions, put them in here. I could ask questions of you as well if you like, but I got about 20-30 minutes in the mornings on Monday before I start teaching my first student. What I do is my morning wake up and my morning routine that I suggest everybody does. If you could do it for 5 minutes in the morning and 5 minutes at night, it'll actually blow your mind on how the muscle memory starts to develop for string players, no matter what it is. And then if it's vocals, practicing a series of just intervals that'll help you get used to hearing those notes, like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 5. Warm-up should be big breaths and then letting out the notes. Well, we try and do that on the piano as well. So where I have the privilege of teaching is at Big Island Guitars in Hilo. If you're ever in Hilo, Big Island, it's 1221 Kilauea. They're open, I believe, 6 days a week, 10 to 5. You can also check the website. I might even throw that in here in the description. If you're ever in town, come by, say hello. I'd love to say hi to you. So what I do in the morning, besides just the normal routine of cleaning up after, or just cleaning up in the morning, make sure it's presentable, I also take time to hear music. So I'll sit down and I'll play one or two of the pieces that I'm working on with my kids or my adults. Most of my adults are doing stringed instruments right now. I'm teaching a teacher who plays flute and piano, which is great because I get to talk music with her. It's wonderful. Other than that, working on the same things over and over again is called practice. When you learn something new, it's good to also play that and to introduce that into your playing style. So what I enjoy doing is basically taking the things that I learned from the day before and doing them again. So tunes that I'm working on right now with kids are the and in my mind I'm checking my hands and going, all right, so I'm playing the G sharp, C sharp, and then E, making sure that I'm not using my normal triad fingers and making sure I'm using my 1, 2, 4 extended triad fingers, so then I can reach that F sharp with my pinky. Those kind of things that lining up that I want to teach my little ones when they're doing this, so they get the proper technique rather than just like aimlessly shooting fish in a barrel, as I say. So what we do, in the morning and what we do at night generally depicts on how we're going to be able to hear and play and see these things when we get on stage or playing with other people. At that point, it's actually a very interesting thing because the stuff that you practice, you're going to be able to play because it becomes something called muscle memory at that point. And muscle memory is nothing more than just the action of recalling notes on a fretboard or on a piano or vocally that you've previously done and been able to do. The only time that something that, doesn't make sense is like if you're singing or playing with a band and you have do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, and the song keeps going and it has a particular pattern, you know the words. That's something that's rehearsed. It's something that you hear and that you do. So the honest to goodness thanks is you go through the process of hearing what you want to hear, you hit the wrong notes while you're playing or singing, and then you realize what to do and what not to do. That process helps when you already know how to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7, 1, to hear the difference between just two different moduses. So what happens when we put those constructs together while playing progressions, no matter if they're 2-chord progressions, 3-chord progressions, or even like avant-garde nonsense chords against the wall, there's still a basis that you can hear based off of what your triads are, and then adding on to that. So what we do is we basically go through that, but we look at it from a very simple form. The key is C, no sharps, no flats. Therefore, when we're lining up all of the kind of key concepts that we want to be able to address when teaching, we talk about things like do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Some teachers will even say, all cows eat grass, good boys do fine always, to learn the notes of the staff. What I say is sitting down with an instrument, looking at that and playing it over and over again. And when you play a C major and you see a stacked triad on a piece of paper and you know that to be a C major because that first little zero or that whole note is on the ledger line, it starts making more sense to see these things as just something that pops out at you, just like reading a foreign language. It seems strange in the beginning to your natural tongue, but after you do it after a while, it starts making sense. Same way with music. It just takes a little bit longer because most of the people in the world don't speak music, which is super interesting because I'm pretty much in the ballpark of thinking everything runs off of music and frequency, and to some extent. So what I do is I get ready in the morning. Right now I've already started my little process. Today on Mondays is lots of fun for me because I have besides just my normal crew that comes in, the lessons, I have a bass player that's taking lessons and the hopes to gain a little bit of, a little bit of skill around on the bass, on the fretboard, look at the thing as a tangible item and be able to move up and down, and giving just a core curriculum on bass to follow for 5 minutes in the morning, utilizing his fingers, thumb technique, and learning a couple notes on the fretboard. It's what most people neglect to do when they're starting off playing an instrument, which I find to be very interesting. The one thing you do want to do when you're playing is have fun, and I understand that scales and learning modes and learning names for stuff becomes kind of tiresome and annoying. So what I try and do is make it fun. Personally, I really dig playing instruments that cause the brain to think a little bit, like, let's see, banjo's interesting, mandolin is interesting, so I offer those here. Got a few students on each. But what I like to do is when I don't have enough students on a particular instrument, I offer free lessons. And this individual just happens to be the one that took me up on it. So it's super groovy to be able to play with somebody who owns a bass, has wanted to get out of their own shell, get out and play a little bit. Pandemic's been shitty. And then, just kind of come together and we learn a couple different concepts. And the idea is, if I've got a couple bass players at home that see this channel, that pick up their bass and start playing, it's all well worth it. Since there are no real people hanging out on the channel right now, I'm just going to say adieu, and I will see you next Monday for Music Monday. If you see this and you plan on it, come back next Monday. Ask me a question. Aloha!